Alice knows now that there are a few thousand survivors there, so their scent will attract the corpse eaters, and they will find the place pretty soon. So she asked Kyle to be prepared. After a while, someone jumped behind them, and when they looked behind, they find a big bear. Alice looked at its aura and realizes that this bear is the Saint Rank elf who was in the embassy. Alice tried to block it with her ice wall, but the bear easily destroyed the wall and injured Alice. It smiled and said that Alice is weaker than he thought. Kyle attacked it from behind, but his spear didn't manage to pierce through its hard skin. The bear then attacked Kyle and knocked him in a single punch. Alice couldn't do anything, as along with the bear, there were too many corpse eaters as well. But to her surprise, the bear killed the corpse eaters and said that she's his prey, and it won't let her die this easily. Alice then dashed toward the bear and attacked it with her full power. But the bear easily blocked the attack and caught her. It asked Alice about Merlin's whereabouts, but Alice refused to tell him anything. The bear smiled and gave her two choices. One is to save the survivors that are in the building behind her, and the other is to save her partner. This angered Alice, and suddenly her eye color changed. She used her dragon's power and managed to freeze its arm completely. The bear realized that Alice's attack will kill it, so he quickly cut off its arm. It realized that it would be dangerous to keep Alice alive, so he tried to kill her. But suddenly, the bears felt an enormous pressure and looked behind. An old man appeared and said that he thought it was an ordinary beast, but it turned out to be a dark elf. Alice was confused as to how this old man knew that the bear is a dark elf. The dark elf remembered the old man and called him the space magician Gregory. Alice then realized that this old man named Gregory is the president of the Adventurers Guild in the capital. The dark elf thought this is bad, as no one has ever survived fighting Gregory, but still, he thought that in his current state, he might be able to kill the old man. Gregory noticed its killing intent and insulted him for being rude. This angered the dark elf as he released all his power and decides to kill him. Alice gets shocked as its aura even surpassed the Saint Rank. The dark elf then changed its form to a more vicious beast as he walked toward Gregory. He attacked Gregory with his full power, but to his surprise, Gregory was unaffected by his attack. Gregory then opened a portal that started to suck the dark elf. And with this single attack, Gregory killed the dark elf easily. Alice was shocked to see that the fight finished in mere moments. Suddenly, Cecilia came running to Alice and said that she just sensed an immense aura just now. She then found Kyle on the ground and is happy to know that he is alive. Alice then went close to Gregory, introduced herself and thanked him for his assistance. Gregory was happy to know that she is from Wrexham, as he tells her to give the guild master Taylor a message for him, that he should visit more often. At the same time, the Redbud Knights were fighting the elf's subordinate of Samuel. She was controlling a giant muddy monster that even the Redbud Knight captains couldn't defeat. One of the captains then used his power and managed to crush the monster. But to his surprise, a hand emerged from the liquid, and then the maid transformed into a giant monster herself. Both captains then used their magic power, and with their attack combined, they managed to cut her head. But even after her head is removed, the elf girl regenerates and tells the captains that attacks like these are meaningless against her. The captains realized that in order to defeat her, they need to destroy her entire body. Suddenly, Macefield arrived and ordered them to move fast, as they don't have time to fool around. The elf noticed Macefield and dashed towards her, but to everyone's surprise, Macefield killed her in a single strike. And as she was scolding the other captains, they said that they were saving their strength for the battle in the clock tower. Macefield looked at the eye in the sky and realized that something bad is going to happen soon. She then ordered the knights to hurry up and gather everyone to attack the clock tower. But before they could leave, the elf girl regenerates herself and said that even if she turned into dust, she would still be able to revive. And as the elf was about to attack Macefield, she noticed someone running toward her. As Merlin was in a hurry, so he cut the elf in half as he ran further. The girl laughed and tried to stop Merlin, but suddenly, her body melted as she just died. And as Macefield looked at Merlin, Chapman shouted that this man was Elgin's master swordsman. Meanwhile, in the clock tower, Samuel's spell was sucking Shirley's soul. Samuel was happy, because soon her master Ashdal will be revived. She also thanked Shirley for giving her spirit in order to revive the glory of the Dark Elves. Suddenly, she looked behind as she sensed someone. It was the famous knight Captain Morrison, who couldn't believe that Samuel was behind all this. He then looked at Princess Shirley and wondered how did she get there. He asks Samuel what she intends to do, but in return, he gets attacked by Samuel. She smiled and said, just because the Redbud Knights are famous, this doesn't mean they are strong. She confidently said that he can't beat her with his current strength. She was continuously attacking Morrison, but he managed to dodge all of her attacks. Morrison then decides to get serious and used his unique skill, Rakshasha, which increased his power and also changed his skin color to red. He then dashed towards Samuel and attacked her with his full power. But to his surprise, Samuel easily blocked his punch and attacked him. But Morrison managed to survive her attack and used Rakshasha Tier 2 to turn himself into an ogre. He then swore to stop Samuel as he dashed toward her. At the same time, Merlin reached outside the clock tower and looked at the top. Meanwhile, Samuel defeated Morrison and spared his life so he can witness the destruction of his country. Helpless, Morrison was begging for someone to arrive and stop Samuel. Suddenly, he heard Merlin's voice, who said that he came to the right place. Merlin looked at Shirley and Morrison, who were not in good shape. He then looked at Samuel and muttered, so she really was a dark elf. Samuel asked for Merlin's identity, and he introduced himself as Elgin's master swordsman. But Samuel just laughed and said that if he is the Elgin's swordmaster, then she is the demon king of the first palace, Lucifer III. In reply, Merlin said that he was originally there to only save Princess Shirley, but now he will kill her too. Morrison looked at Merlin and thought that he stand no chance, as Morrison can't sense any magic from him. Samuel created a magic wall and said that if Merlin tried to cross it, then he will be torn into shreds. And as Merlin walked towards the wall, Morrison stopped him, as this was a suicide. Samuel then tried to complete the spell by offering the whole city, but suddenly, Merlin sent her flying with a punch. Shocked, Samuel wondered how Merlin was able to cross her wall. She then realized that the man inside the clock is the same iron-plate adventurer Merlin. And as the spell was about to complete, so in order to stop Merlin from interfering, she attacked him with her full power. Her attack hit Merlin, but to her surprise, he was unharmed by it. She kept attacking Merlin, but he casually walked toward her and asked how should he get rid of her. And without wasting any time, he cut her in half and killed her. He felt his curse slightly alleviated, so he thought that this trip was worth it. Merlin caught Shirley, who fell from the sky, and realized that her spirit got severely damaged. Before Merlin could leave, Morrison stopped him and asked, with the power he possesses, why does he hide his identity and run from the law? He added that if Merlin agrees to serve Great Britain, then he can convince the Queen to drop all charges against him. But Merlin refused his offer and said that he is not interested. Suddenly, he heard a voice from the sky, saying, because of Merlin's foolishness, he is locked in the space between hell and the surface world. And as a punishment, he, Ashdal, hereby sentenced Merlin to death. Merlin thought that this looked like a little different from his usual opponent, so it might be a little troublesome. Suddenly, an attack came from the sky to kill Merlin. Merlin took the attack head-on and said that if he weren't already dead, then he would have killed him personally. Before the portal closes, Ashdal said that he will remember this, and when he resurrects, he will personally kill Merlin. Merlin looked at his hand and realized that it wasn't a magical attack, but something more powerful. He smiled and muttered that there is still hope for removing his curse after all. Suddenly, Macefield along with the other knight captains attacked Merlin, thinking he is the one behind all this. At the same time, the people were all looking at the tower as the sky is back to normal. Merlin said that he's not there to fight, and tell Macefield to take Shirley, as it will take a grand magician to help her recover. He then threw Shirley toward Macefield and left. And before the knights could follow him, Morrison stopped them and explained that the whole thing was a civil war between the dark and light elves. He added that the swordmaster defeated Samuel, who was behind all this, and saved them all. The public was shocked to see the man disappearing, and starts cheering for the Elgin's master swordsman. After a while, in the elite lodging, Alice was putting bandages on her wounds when Merlin showed up. She quickly hid behind the curtains and asked Merlin about Shirley. Merlin explained the whole situation and asked, how did she got hurt? Alice replied that Shafran tried to attack this place, and she and Kyle tried to fight him off, but couldn't defeat him, and the president of the Royal Capital Guild saved them. She also added that Gregory was so strong that he might even defeat Merlin. Merlin then offered Alice to lick her wounds, as it will help in healing. Alice quickly took the battle stance and thought that Merlin is planning to take advantage of her, as she is now injured. At the same time, Cecilia opened the door, who came there to heal Alice. But she gets shocked to see Alice and Merlin trying to make love in this state, so she quickly shut the door. And finally, in front of Alice's shout, Merlin gave up on healing her. The next day, in the royal palace, Macefield informed the other captains that Princess Shirley's condition is now stable. And while the other captains were thinking of dueling against the master swordsman, Morrison tells them to stop their foolishness. He said that even if all the 12 Knights of Redbud were to attack him simultaneously, they still would not be able to scratch him. This shocked the other knight captains, as it is not possible for anyone to be this powerful. Morrison's words angered Macefield, and as she grabbed his collar, she noticed that he was shaking. She clicked her teeth and wondered, just how strong is this Elgin's master swordsman? But still, Macefield shouted that no matter how strong this swordsman is, if he threatens this kingdom, then they will treat him as their enemy. But Morrison still advises against fighting him, as this would be disastrous for them. He added that he will personally ask the Queen to drop all charges against him and formally invite him to join the Redbud Knights. He said that this is all for the future of the kingdom and left. A few days after the disaster of Lydney, the citizens began to rebuild their city. Merlin and company also began their journey to Dover Strait. While leaving, Alice asked Merlin if it's safe to leave Shirley here. Merlin replied that Shirley is in safe hands, and they just need to sit back and wait for the 1 million gold reward. Alice thought that all Merlin cared about is money, so she hoped that he never see the reward. Suddenly, their wagon stopped as a giant eagle landed in front of them. Macefield was on top of the eagle, who asked Merlin and Alice to go with her. She take them to the temporary royal residence, where Shirley came and greeted them. She told Alice that she asked Macefield to bring them there so she could bid them farewell. Merlin secretly asked Shirley if the knights asked anything about him. Shirley replied that they just asked for the Elgin's master swordsman, who she has never heard of. Macefield then said sorry for interrupting, as it is almost time for departure. Merlin then asked Shirley for 1 million gold coins, but Shirley didn't understand. Merlin shouted that Shirley promised to give 1 million gold coins as a reward. But to his bad luck, Macefield tells him that Princess Shirley's spiritual damage caused her to forget about certain events. Everyone in the city then heard Merlin cry, as his heart was crushed by Macefield's words. After a while, Alice was cheering Merlin, as they can still get a reward from Cecilia. Alice could see Merlin's tears of blood, but with no other choice left, Merlin started their journey again. Cecilia then informed Merlin that they will reach their destination soon, and asked about his preparation. But Merlin replied that for a mere alchemist, he doesn't need any preparation. They reached the village, and Merlin thought it is strange, as the village is too quiet. Alice agreed, as it looks like a ghost town. Suddenly, they noticed someone beating a man. They went close and sees a fishman, who was telling the man to hand over his granddaughter. But the man refused and said that the fishman already take his son, so he will never let him take his granddaughter. The fishman gang members came and informed their leader that they found the girl. The fishman went close to the girl and tell her to be obedient if she wants to live. But the girl spits on him and called him a traitor, as they asked him to protect the village, but he decided to side with the enemy. But the fishman laughed and said that he is the strongest being there and tried to attack the girl. But before he could reach the girl, Alice used her ice attack and tell the fishman to stay away from the girl. Alice threatened him to stay away from the girl, or it will be bad for him. But the fishman said that there is no need for him to be scared of just a measly ice swordswoman and a squire from Wrexham. He said that he used to be an adventurer, so he knows about Alice and Merlin. He called Alice a dumb girl, who somehow managed to become a gold-ranked adventurer through luck, and Merlin a gigolo, who just relies on Alice. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe,